Howdy, soldiers. I was debating drinking alcohol while doing this video, but then I thought I would go off just a little too hard, so we have a mug of tea for today. Also, yes, hello, my house looks like an actual crypt because it's daylight savings time. Not that that's that far off with the amount of bones that I have in my house that are not mine. So sorry about the lighting, but we're filming in the freaking bat cave today. And I'm also filming on my couch instead of in front of my bookshelves because I don't want to say who, but somebody forgot to charge her laptop and is currently tethered to a power outlet. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a queer lady in my late 20s who likes to talk about queer books and also use my English degree to be as obnoxious as I possibly can when doing deep dive video essays into topics that relate to books and media, mostly things like how queer people are portrayed in media, how romance is portrayed in media, and deep diving into maybe why some beloved tropes are a little bit problematic. I've been kicking around the idea of doing a pregnancy trope video for a long time, and a couple weeks ago when I did my Valentine's Day romance trope jail video, people in the comments let me know that they would be interested in hearing about that, so this is all your fault. Welcome to today's video. I also decided to do this video because to absolutely flex on everybody, I recently met Samantha Shannon, author of A Day of Fallen Night and of Priory of the Orange Tree and Bone Season fame. Also can confirm she's an absolutely wonderful person, so meeting your heroes actually paid off this time. I was at the launch event for this book, and as you can see, I'm about halfway through it right now, because damn, she's a brick. But something that she talked about at the event, and then something that I luckily got to talk with her a little bit more afterward, was all the themes of motherhood in A Day of Fallen Night. And being a feminist high fantasy novel with dragons, it follows three main female characters, and themes of motherhood are quite large in that. There are characters who are mothers, there are characters who were mothers, there are characters who are forced into motherhood, or characters who, because of duty and religious practices, are expected to be mothers. So all those things have been kicking around in my head. And also the fact that I've been trying to date for a little while, because growing up being socialized as a woman, there are still some things that like I'm working through when dating people who are not men. And just like rethinking gender roles, rethinking a role in a relationship, and then also talking with some of my fellow book bloggers and looking at a bunch of very famous and popular queer novels and kind of looking at how heteronormativity and family structure is perceived by people and both deconstructed but also reinforced. And all of that is culminated into the video that you are currently watching right now. So hello, welcome. Without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, and buckle in while we talk all about heteronormativity, the happily ever after complex, and why I hate pregnancy tropes so goddamn much. I will also give a caveat before I start this video that I'm talking mostly about like Western society, and like I grew up in the west coast of Canada, so that is very different. And I'm also obviously very white. I am literally the color of uncooked chicken. And there are a ton of other religions and cultures that look at marriage, children, generational housing very differently than I do. With that being said, I feel like some of this is universal and some of it is also pertaining to specifically queer people and queer media. Okay, so to break things down, heteronormativity is the ideology and belief that there are only two separate genders, men and women, and that people who are masculine or feminine are inherently good at certain roles, and that male and female are the only two genders instead of being two on a spectrum of them, and that being heterosexual is a given instead of a possibility. Now, as a somewhat feminine cisgender woman who was socialized as a woman growing up, since I was a child, I have been bombarded with images of marriage, weddings, children, motherhood, told I'll fall in love with the perfect man, that I shouldn't be single, that I shouldn't have opinions on things that make men angry, and that I can do it all with this new brand of tampons. Could you imagine if I had an ad read right there? That would have been freaking perfect. My god, Tampax, like, hit me up. But even from a young age, I remember looking at those images and not wanting any of that and thinking to myself, oh, well, I guess I'll want that when I'm older. And it took me a while to realize that the things that society was saying that I needed to have to be happy were things that would objectively make me miserable. And that started me on this journey of taking a bunch of sociology classes to analyze and deconstruct what society thinks is a socially acceptable life narrative and why or why not I may or may not want those things. So the first thing I want to talk about in books I do say books, even though technically this could just be media, but you know, books are my preferred genre and what I'm here for and what I do regularly. So books it is. First thing I want to talk about is the happily ever after, the HEA. Every time I say HEA, I want to say HOA, and this is not the Homeowners Association. Happily ever afters are all the same. You have the two main characters finally get together, they pronounce their love, and it's heavily implied that they are going to walk off into the sunset and settle down, have kids, have a future successful business, the end. And lots of people like reading these things, myself included, because, you know, it wraps up the story really well, all the conflict is resolved, it gives the reader a sense of comfort and satisfaction. All fiction is escapism, so obviously you want a nice ending. Like, I don't think anyone wants to end a story and be like, well, that sucked, and I'm now devoid of hope. Like, no. But one of the things that happily ever afters usually end on is a romance trope. Usually the largest part of the happily ever after is the two characters getting together and becoming a couple. And since romance and connection are such a large part of the majority of people's lives, like, it makes sense, right? And it gives the sense of like satisfaction and like hope, and it doesn't matter how cruel the outside world is, as long as these two characters are together and they've admitted that they love each other, like, that's all they need in life, right? But I do find it odd that the getting togetherness is the happily ever after. YA books especially are funny to me because it's like the two characters have held hands and said I love you and kissed under the stars, and they've helped save their local bookstore with a boba tea fundraiser, or they've performed at the talent show against other fears, or they've just won a magical war and chopped this guy's head off, or whatever. And now you officially announce that we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Yay! Story over. But no. The relationship part of the happily ever after doesn't start when the relationship starts. That's the easy part. You guys just got together. What the heck is gonna happen now? Because you only see a little snapshot of a relationship of two characters getting together and then that's kind of it. That also is a bit of an unrealistic expectation for what relationships are. Just because you start dating somebody doesn't mean you're going to end up with them forever. Adult books do this a little bit better, but YA is notorious for it, that like the very first person that is the opposite sex of the main character is going to be their love interest and they're going to end up together. I think that's why series like ACOTAR or the Shatter Me series did so well, you know, among other things, was because the first dude love interest introduced was not the end game love interest, and that's a more realistic depiction of dating and what relationships are. And please do not read into that example very much. This is a very shallow example. So the happily ever after of a book is heavily focused on romance. And that is only one type of connection that you can have in your life. And so putting so much pressure on it, I think, is also kind of unhealthy. There are so many other types of meaningful connections that you're going to have in your life that are not romantic, that are not sexual, and that maybe are not monogamous. And I think that is a space that both YA and adult books have room to grow in. For example, there are Arrow and Ace folks who don't want that type of relationship in their life, and them not getting it doesn't mean that they're going to be any less happy. Yes, hello, it's editing, Rachel. By the way, yes, I do have a rack of antlers up there in case you were wondering about that bone comment earlier. Trends indicate that people, myself included, want to see really intense depictions of friendship or exploring the dynamics of a polyamorous relationship, and even as a monogamous person, I'm on board for it. And regardless of your gender or sexuality, pigeonholing happiness into relationship is not great, because then there's all this pressure to get in a relationship, and what if you're not happy in the relationship, but then people are telling you you should be happy, and then that's like a bunch of like mental confusion. I've also noticed that a lot, not all, but a lot of queer stories still have fairly heteronormative features, like kids, a house, the working partner versus the non-working partner, which makes sense because we're raised in a heteronormative society where one thing is the golden standard, and if you're at all outside of regular society, like if we're told we can't have the shining example of a happy life, we're gonna still work twice as hard to actually get there and prove that we can have it. But due to discrimination, a lot of queer people are isolated from the support systems that they need that would allow them to access the money, education, or community that other people would have. So because a lot of queer people are ostracized and isolated from the things that would allow them to live a regular heteronormative lifestyle, then that means that queer people are making our own communities, and that's why I think found family is such a large trope in queer media, because being queer can disrupt that traditional timeline of college, dating, marriage, house, kids. So you go to find social or romantic fulfillment in other people and in other ways. And part of growing up is realizing your personal identity and how you function, what you really want, what you feel secure in, and also letting go of that picture perfect 50s nuclear family ideal that society is trying to push on you. So it's up to you to decide what a happily ever after means to you. I'm sorry, that one was bad. Okay, so my camera battery just died, so I took that opportunity to change this out and then also go get a mug of coffee. So we're gonna see if this was a good decision at around 11:30 p.m. tonight. I'm just now realizing I brought out this stack of books, for some decoration, but also to literally recommend them as good examples for some of these things, and then I just never did. So we're gonna do a little interlude at the moment. If we're talking about found family, Six of Crows can't be beat, and then we also have Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, which is the most cozy sci-fi ever, and then House on the Cerulean Sea, which has a more like different ages and general dynamics kind of vibe to it. So you got those. Oh, I forgot to get my other ones. So like Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chupeco and Iron Widow by Sharon J. Zhao. These are both great depictions of polyamory in books, and like we love to see it. The Sun is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon shows that even if you fall in love with somebody, you may not end up together. And Deeper by Robin York is a great new adult book that talks about how relationships are work and how getting together is the easy part. Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly is also like, this girl leaves her husband and then competes in a baking competition and then is gay. So like that's a prescribed lifestyle that didn't go the way that anyone planned, and she's perfectly happy by the end of it. And Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri is very conveniently placed. This is a great segue that I did not plan, because this is the only book where I have read a pregnancy trope done right. Oh god, I have to fix up all these real quick. Set deck, anybody? Done. It is time for me to fucking rant about how I absolutely, with all of my deep, dark, black-rotted soul, despise pregnancy tropes in media. And I can't believe I have to clarify this, but when I said it online, some people were like, what's a pregnancy trope? What? Hello? It's literally in the title. I mean, I get it. Sometimes my critical thinking skills take a little vacation, but I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory. And I will start this off by saying I'm somebody who is child-free by choice. I do not want children. It's just not for me. But my decision does not reflect on you, okay? Remember that, because I'm me and you're you. And if you want to have a kid, that's awesome. Like, hell knows that we need some good people raising some good minds these days. I am just extraordinarily frustrated in the fact that having children is the only outcome that is pushed. Wow, that was a horrible unintended pun. That as a woman, to be happy, you have to have kids. There are so many different ways to live that can make you happy that do not involve raising children. And authors usually use having a baby as a default setting or a shorthand for happiness. Also, quick side note that, like, yes, this is very heteronormative reinforcement, but like, you don't have to be straight to want a baby and a house and a family. It's like not only for straight people. So not only is it reinforcing the idea that like women will just have a baby and then like never need to go to therapy again. Hell, a lot of the time, the main character will specifically say that she doesn't want kids, but then, oh, shocking twist, she's pregnant, and then without literally thinking about it at all, she's like, oh, actually, yeah, never mind, I'll just like keep this baby. No problem. And not that you can't change your mind, but just like, realistically, would you not think about it for like a couple minutes? And because pregnancy tropes are usually in straight media, then the guy who usually also up till this point has never wanted children or has explicitly said that he does not want children, who's a mafia boss or a fairy lord or, I don't know, a motorcycle bad boy. He either goes one of two ways. Either he tells her that he's not ready to be a father and to get rid of the fetus and I never want to see you again, which then later eventually turns into him coming around and then they have a happy family. Or he does a 180, he does a 180 right away and suddenly is like, oh, actually, I totally want kids and I'm a total family man now. Hey, fantastic, let's have like 6 more. And you're like, whoa, my guy, where did this come from? But going a level deeper, a pregnancy trope very rarely, if ever, results in an actual baby in the story. Her womb is magically magicked away somehow, or it was actually fake all along, and so we never actually see the baby. And physically growing another human being inside of you, I have been told, is fairly hard work, but we usually don't see a character have any of the physical symptoms or even mental symptoms of what it's like being pregnant. I mean, usually we have a character like throw up a couple times and then, oh my god, she's pregnant, but like that's kind of it. So then if a character does miscarry or has all these conflicted feelings about being pregnant, you'd think that that would actually factor into the story and their character arc. There's maybe a chapter or two of her feeling conflicted and then bounces back right away. So what the heck did that pregnancy trope even do for the story? It did freaking nothing. If there is no emotional or story value in the main character being pregnant, like if you could replace the word baby with something completely different and it wouldn't make a difference, why bother having it? Oh, hi, it's me again. So if you're trying to tell the story of motherhood and focus on the struggles that women go through in their journey through motherhood, it doesn't make logical or narrative sense to put a pregnancy trope in and then not give commentary on it. If the point that you're trying to make is that this character is happy when she has a kid, then you need to put that in the story as a driving factor. If it pops up out of nowhere, this shows me that you can't conceive of, pun intended, another way for people to be happy, in which case I might ask you to consider why you think people can only be happy one way. Oh my god, the sun just came out. That's that daylight savings in effect. To go on a slight Hunger Games rant, this is why I was so uncomfortable with the epilogue of Mockingjay. Katniss said she never wanted kids. PETA bothered her until she had them. She had a ton of PTSD that she didn't address, and it wasn't her personality. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, but she was a mother to her sister. Taking care of your siblings and mothering your siblings is a very different experience than mothering and taking care of your own child. And yes, the argument has been made of like, Katniss didn't want to have her own kids because she knew that they might be reaped, and the symbolization of her having children after the Hunger Games are over is like this big thing of her realizing that there's hope in the world again, etc., etc. But I don't buy it. That was not her personality. She could have been plenty happy without kids or without PETA, actually, because Katniss is like very heavily asexual coded. But no, I don't know about romantic coded, so maybe PETA, I don't know. That'd be cool. But like, what the heck was that, okay? It's been like a decade since Mockingjay came out, and I'm still mad about it. Wow, this coffee is apparently really getting to me. The reason I say the Jasmine Throne did a really good pregnancy trope is one of our main badass female characters, Bhumika, she is pregnant when we meet her in the book, and she's pregnant for most of the book, but like, that doesn't stop her from being a grade 1 friggin' rebel badass, and it's like multiple times she's like, being pregnant freaking sucks because like you have this basketball strapped to you, it's hot out, plus there's all this like political machinations with like her husband and the reason that she got pregnant, and then eventually she does give birth in the book and it's not easy. So I was like, thank you, Tasha Suri, for fully showing what being pregnant does to you both emotionally and physically and politically. So yeah, I want to have this conclusion about how like heteronormativity and the patriarchy hurts queer people, but like who doesn't it hurt at this point, really? Even if you're a couple who are straight or straight passing in a relationship, all the questions of, are you gonna get married? Are you gonna have kids? Why are you not having kids? Why are you not getting married? Why are you not buying a house? Like, that is so frustrating because like maybe, again, that's not right for those people, and that doesn't make them less happy. It just means that their life is gonna be different than yours. I have friends who have kids and they all seem really happy with that decision, and I'm so happy for them that that's something that like they wanted in life and they got it and they're now experiencing that. But I also know that that's not for me, and I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Like, I've never been skydiving and I know I'm not missing out on anything there. Like, no, I'm good, thanks. You can go do that, but I'm good. I'm gonna stay here. I don't understand why people are so mad about how, oh, you're not dating a man? Why not? Well, because I don't freaking want to. Like, the end. I guess my final words of 27-year-old wisdom are like, don't let other people pressure you into having a life that you don't want. I also acknowledge when you're queer, everything is like 5 times more difficult. So if you are trying to conceive with your partner, I wish you the best. If you are not in a situation where you can be your authentic self, I really hope that this video just like is a safe space for you, and that eventually you are in a situation in which you can live authentically. It's also why I think the internet is so great. Like, I have a huge found family support network of people that don't even live near me, which is both good and bad because I do want to hug everybody, but it's also great to just like have a space to go into. And honestly, sometimes I forget straight people exist. Before you say anything, not all straight people, and you know, I'm a straight ally. I guess this really boils down to like, what do you care what someone else is doing with their life? Like, As long as they're not hurting you or themselves, like, just be respectful and everyone can just, like, do whatever they want to do. And what I want to do right now is I want to finish my coffee, then I'm gonna go smash a bag of chips that are in my cupboard. So I think I'm gonna go and do that. You know where to click to like the video. You know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!